Welcome to Fantasia, home of the Melodious. My name's Azallea, and today, gonna be bringing you guys another update to my Melodious deck. Now, this is gonna be the second Melodious deck profile for this month, and that's because on my Twitter page, I put up a poll to see if you guys want to see Synchro Melodious or if you guys want to see Cyber Angel Melodious, and because the poll was so close, I decided to do both for this month. Now, if you want to participate in future polls or want to stay updated on my uploads and schedules, please go follow me on Twitter there. I have a poll up right now for the future Lunalight deck profiles for this month. So please go and vote and see what you want. But anyway, let's jump straight into this deck profile. Okay, so starting off, we were playing 3 copies of Soprano, the Melodious Songstress. Now, Soprano is great for going for our fusion plays, but she's also great because when you special summon her, you can add one Melodious monster from your graveyard back to your hand. And the main monster we're going to be adding back is going to be Cannon, the Melodious Diva, which we play 3 copies of. Now, Cannon, if you control another Melodious monster, you can special summon her straight from your hand, which is pretty nice. And this is the mini, Melodious engine that we have to supplement the Cyber Angels that we have as our main part of the deck. Now, the Melodious monsters are really great for going for most of our rank 4 plays, and also for going for Shiberta, which is really great disruption on our opponent's turn. Okay, so going into the Cyber Angel part of the deck, we start off with 3 copies of Cyber Tutubon. Now, Cyber Tutubon is absolutely phenomenal in this deck because she is a level 5, and you can special summon her by tributing 1 warrior or 1 fairy type monster from your hand or your field, and if this card is tributed for a ritual summon, you can target 1 ritual spell card in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. But she is absolutely amazing for going for synchro plays with Ghost Ogre, and you can also make a lot of rank 5 plays with her, which is really nice because I really do love the rank 5 pool. Okay, so the main Cyber Angel monster we're going to be playing in this deck are 3 copies of Cyber Angel Natasha. Now, Natasha's really cool because once per turn, you can target 1 face-up monster that you control and gain life points equal to half of its attack. So you can gain a relatively decent chunk of life points back every single turn, which is kind of nice. And also, if this card is in the graveyard, you can banish 1 other Cyber Angel monster from your graveyard, then target 1 monster your opponent controls, special summon this card, and then if you do, take control of that monster. So this is basically like a snatch steal, and it's so much fun because a lot of people don't know that she has this effect, so you just take a lot of cards that your opponent controls and use them against them. She also has a really neat effect that if a ritual monster you control is targeted for an attack, you can just negate the attack with no cost or anything like that. So it forces your opponent to basically use targeting removal, destruction removal, or just to outright negate her effect by burning one of their own cards. So she's absolutely amazing. And then when she is destroyed, you can just bring her back from the graveyard, steal something your opponent controls. It's so nice. But yeah, definitely one of my most favorite Cyber Angel monsters in the game. Now, of course, because we're playing Cyber Angels, we have to play 3 copies of Cyber Angel Benten. When this card is tributed, you can, of course, add 1 light fairy type monster from your deck to your hand, which is really nice for searching out some of your Melodious monsters and such. But the cool thing is that Cyber Tutubon, you can actually just tribute the Benten straight from your hand to summon the Cyber Tutubon, and Benten can go and search for whatever you need. And then if you search for something like a Natasha, and then you tribute the Cyber Tutubon for Natasha, Cyber Tutubon can add your ritual spell card back to your hand. There's just a lot of synergy there that you can just use to loop resources. Okay, so another engine that I use to supplement this deck is the Predaplant engine. So we play 3 copies of Predaplant Orphis Scorpio because you can summon out these cards, the 2 copies of Predaplant Darlingtonia Cobra. Now, Darlingtonia Cobra, when this card is special summoned by the effect of a Predaplant card, you can add 1 Polymerization or 1 Fusion spell card from your deck to your hand, which is really nice for searching out Brilliant Fusion, because Brilliant Fusion allows us to summon Seraphinite, and you can also send Trick Clown. So that puts a level 5 and a level 4 body on your side of the field, and because the Melodious monsters are level 4 and Natasha's a level 5 along with Cyber Tutubon, we have possible rank 4 and rank 5 plays in just using very efficient resources. So of course, for our targets for the Brilliant Fusion, we play 1 copy of Perform Mage Trick Clown, so you can summon it back from the graveyard when it's sent there. Of course, if you don't have the Trick Clown available to you, you can always send additional Cyber Angels or your Melodious monsters. If you send Cyber Angel monsters, you fuel the Natasha so she can come back over and over again if you decide you need to do that. Of course, we also have to play 1 Gem Knight monster, so I like to play Gem Knight Lazuli, but you can play any other Gem Knight that you prefer in this deck because it doesn't really matter. Okay, so next off, going to some of the hand traps, we play 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, because as a level 3 tuner, she's actually really good in this deck. If you don't use her effect to destroy things on the field, that's completely fine, because as a level 3 monster, you can synchro with the Melodious monsters for level 7 plays, or you can synchro with some of these Cyber Angel monsters for level 8 plays, so that's always really nice to have available to you. The next card that we play is 1 copy of Maxi, because Maxi is just phenomenal for putting a halt to your opponent's plays. Okay, so that does it for the monsters. Next off, we're going to go into the spell cards. Okay, so for these spell cards, starting off, we were playing 3 copies of Brilliant Fusion, of course, to get that Seraphonite onto the field and hopefully get a Trick Clown alongside her as well. Getting double normal summons is also really nice in this deck, because then you can get some of the Melodious monsters out of your hand and continually go for Fusion and rank 4 XYZ plays in a single turn. Next off, we go for 3 copies of Ritual Sanctuary. This is like the bread and butter of all of my Melodious decks now, because it's so good. It's basically like a monster reborn, but you can also discard a spell card to search ritual cards, so you can of course search out your Cyber Angel cards as well, and this is a monster reborn by shuffling spell cards back into your deck equal to the level of the monster that you want to bring back for your light fairy type monsters. So that's always really great for summoning back a Soprano, add a cannon back to your hand, summon the cannon, go for rank 4 plays. Okay, so next off, we were playing 3 copies of Terraforming because we want to search out that Ritual Sanctuary, and having multiple copies of Terraforming is fine because you can search out the Ritual Sanctuaries, you can pitch any extra copies of Terraformings, and you can shuffle all of these cards back into your deck with the Ritual Sanctuary's effect, bring back a monster, and then, you just refueled your entire engine, so that's always good. Okay, so next off, we're playing 3 copies of Machine Angel Ritual. This is the ritual spell for the Cyber Angel archetype, and you can ritual summon any Cyber Angel monster with this card, but you must also, of course, tribute monsters with levels that are equal to or exceed the level of the monster that you're summoning, so that's always really nice, not just being restricted like Herald of Perfection is to an exact level. Also, if a light monster that you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can banish this card in your graveyard instead. And that actually adds an additional layer of protection to Natasha, because Natasha can not only just negate attacks that target her because she is a ritual monster, but then you have this to protect her from destruction, so that's always really cool. Although most of the time I like to just leave, let my Natasha get destroyed if my opponent has something that I really like on their side of the field, so I can just on my turn summon the Natasha back and then take whatever I want from them. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind, but the protection effect, of course, is always there. This can also protect all of your light monsters, so Shiberta, any of your XYZs that are light, it's really good. Okay, next off, we play 1 copy of Preparation of Rites to help search out our combo pieces. Unfortunately, you can't use pre-preparation of rites in this deck, but that's perfectly fine because the Cyber Angels are pretty searchable on their own, especially with Benton and the 2-2 pawn interaction. Okay, next off, we play 1 copy of Emergency Teleport. This is to get the Ghost Ogre out of our deck onto our side of the field, which is really nice. You can always use her effect on the field to destroy something if your opponent activates something, but you can also just use this Emergency Teleport to put her on the field and then go for synchro plays. We also play 1 copy of Instant Fusion to summon monsters from our extra deck. Of course, Norden is gone, but we do have access to things like Invoked Raijin, and Raijin's a level 5 monster that has pretty good disruptive effect, and you can go for XYZ or synchro plays with him. Next off, we play 1 copy of Soul Charge to wrap things up for our spell cards. It's just really nice to recover boards, or if you're going first, you can establish a nice board while going first. So yeah, that does it for the spell cards. Next off, we're going to go into the trap cards. Okay, so for the trap cards, we only play 3, and I don't have them on me right now, but we play 3 copies of Solemn Strike. Now, Solemn Strike, of course, is getting that sweet reprint as a promo, so I'm waiting for that to happen before I pick them up again. But 3 copies of Solemn Strike is absolutely amazing because this deck really does need help on the defensive aspect of it. So if you're going first, you really want to see a Solemn Strike just to stop your opponent from going off and blowing up your board. This isn't a really defensive board. This is kind of just like a for fun build. It's actually really good on your opponent's turn because you can make things like Volcasaurus and start burning them. It really just utilizes your opponent's monsters against them, right? Especially with Natasha, Volcasaurus, and all that. But yeah, that does it for the main deck. Next off, we're going to go into the side deck. Okay, so starting off the side deck, we're playing one copy of Artifact Moral Talk. Now, Moral Talk is pretty cool. All the artifacts are actually pretty cool because you can set them from your hand to your spell and trap zones as a spell card. And then during your opponent's turn, when this set card in the spell and trap card zone is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon it. And if this card is special summoned during your opponent's turn, you can destroy one face-up card your opponent controls. So that's really nice disruption. And it's pretty good if you know your opponent has like Twin Twisters or Mystical Space Typhoons and they're afraid of back row. You can set this into your back row and they'll probably destroy it, and you get like pretty nice pluses off of that. The next card that we play, 3 copies of Artifact Scythe. This Artifact engine is really nice. Now, Scythe has the same effects as Moral Talk, except that when it's special summoned on your opponent's turn, it locks them out of the extra deck for the rest of the turn. So it's really phenomenal. It's basically like a dimensional barrier, but for all summoning types, right? So really, really nice. Now, of course, with this Artifact engine, it won't be complete unless you play 3 copies of Artifact Sanctum. I don't have my Artifact Sanctum on me because I just ordered them. They got reprinted in the Battles of Legend Light's Revenge. Really great reprint set. That if you guys haven't checked it out, you definitely should. A lot of really expensive cards got reprinted. They're only a couple of bucks now because of those reprints. So really, really phenomenal set. Now, Artifact Sanctum, if your opponent destroys it, you get to destroy one card that they control, which is really nice. But also, you can just activate this. It's a trap card, so you can activate this on your opponent's turn, and then you can just special summon an artifact monster straight from your deck. So with this card, you can summon Moral Talk to destroy something anytime you want. You can also summon Scythe out of nowhere and then just block your opponent out of their extra deck for the rest of the turn, so that's always nice as well. Okay, so next off, we are playing 1 copy of Raigeki for the field clears, and to accompany that, we also play 2 copies of Dark Hole, because if you're going second, you really want to just clear out the opponent's field as much as possible. Of course, if they have like monsters that are immune to destruction, that's fine, because Natasha can always target it, you can take it, and then you can use it against your opponent, right? So that's always kind of cool. I always like that interaction with this deck. Next off, we're playing 3 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, because I don't main deck any spell and trap removal, so this is going to be, in the side deck. And then last but not least, I play 2 copies of Starlight Road, because we do have access to Stardust Dragon, which is really nice, and we actually have a pretty difficult time recovering from field wipes and things, so you want to prevent that, negate your opponent's Raigekis and Twin Twisters and things like that. So Starlight Road, pretty good. But yeah, that does it for the side deck. Next off, we're going to go into the extra deck. Okay, so for the extra deck, starting off, we're playing 1 copy of Super Quantal Mech Beast Grand Pulse. Now, Grand Pulse is really great because you can XYZ summon it by using 2 Predaplant monsters. So if you don't want to use your Predaplant monsters for anything else, like a ritual summon or anything, you can always overlay into Grand Pulse, clear some back row first, and then go for your play. So that's always nice. And 2800 defense is nothing to laugh at either. Your opponent's probably going to have a pretty hard time getting over it without using some additional removal. We also play 1 copy of Daigusto Emerald because it's pretty nice to recover some of our resources, shuffle things back, and get additional draws, basically. Draws are always really nice in ritual decks because you kind of go minus when you're going for your summons. Next off, we play 1 copy of Bujinte Tsukiyomi. Really great for just resetting our hands. Just discard everything you have in your hand to draw 2 cards. If you have like 1 dead card in your hand, you like summoned and set everything else, you can like, send like a Machine Angel Ritual that you have as an extra card and get 2 additional draws from it. And Machine Angel Ritual, of course, has like protection effects in the graveyard, so you're not really losing out on anything there. Next off, we play 1 copy of Castel, the Sky Blaster Musketeer, which is, of course, just general removal for any rank 4 deck. We also play 1 copy of Tornado Dragon, really great spell and trap removal on top of the Grand Pulse and on top of the Mystical Space Typhoons that we side deck. This is basically our quote-unquote main deck access to removal. That's a little bit more consistent to get to because you have, of course, your Melodious monsters that can easily summon it. Next off, we have some rank 5 monsters. I like to play 1 copy of Artifact Durandal, not just because we side deck the artifacts, but because Artifact Durandal is actually phenomenal in this deck. Not only is it a light fairy type monster you can protect with the Machine Angel Ritual, but it also has 2 phenomenal effects. So it says once per turn during either player's turn, you can activate one of these effects. When a monster effect is activated on the field, or when a normal spell or trap card is activated, you can detach 1 XYZ material from this card. The activated effect becomes destroy 1 spell or trap card your opponent controls. This is nice because we are siding our artifacts. We can force our opponents to destroy our artifacts, and then we get pluses off of that. But also because if you're using like Brilliant Fusion and stuff, and you XYZ with your Seraphonite into maybe an Artifact Durandal, perhaps, you can always force your opponent to just change their effect to destroy your Brilliant Fusion, which is kind of nice. It's just a dead card that you have laying on your side of the field, and your opponent doesn't get the effect that they want off. Okay, and the other effect is that you can detach one XYZ material from this card. Each player with a hand shuffles their entire hand into the deck, and then they draw the same number of cards that they shuffled into the deck. So this is like a mulligan, and it's really, really nice because you can actually activate this. It's a quick effect. So if your opponent goes for some searches and you know those are crucial searches that they really need, you can activate Durandal's effect. You shuffle everything in their hand back to the deck and they draw a fresh hand, and hopefully they don't draw into the cards that they need to overcome your field. So it's really nice disruption in a card. Okay, next off, we are playing one copy of number 61, Volcasaurus. Now, Volcasaurus, I mentioned him earlier, but he is phenomenal because you could just burn your opponent. So once per turn, you can detach one XYZ material from this card to target one face-up monster your opponent controls, destroy that opponent's monster, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. So if your opponent has like a high attack monster on the field, boom, gone, and they like lose, 2,000, 3,000 life points from it. Really nice removal and really nice burn damage to finish games off. Okay, so that does it for the XYZs. Next off, we're going to go into the Synchros. So for the Synchros, we're playing one copy of Black Rose Dragon. I love this card so much because you can use both of its effects in this deck. So, of course, the effect that everyone knows is when this card is Synchro Summoned, you can destroy all cards on the field. But it also has a second effect where once per turn, you can banish one plant-type monster from your graveyard. In this case, it would be the Predaplant monsters. Then you can target one defense position monster your opponent controls, change that target to face-up attack position. If you do, its attack becomes 0 until the end of this turn. So if your opponent's starting to go on the defensive and setting things, you can actually use Black Rose Dragon, flip those face-up, and then just smack them for a ton of damage. So that's always really nice, and not a lot of people know about that effect. Okay, so next off, we're playing one copy of Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Now, I love Clearwing Synchro Dragon. It's a really nice level 7 to go into, and it also helps protect your higher level monsters, like your Natasha, from targeting effects. Because Natasha is very vulnerable to targeting, the Machine Angel Ritual protects from battle and by card effect destruction, and Natasha protects herself from battle by just negating attacks. Clearwing can help protect her by negating targeting effects, which is also really cool. And also, if a level 5 or higher monster just activates its effect on the field, you can just destroy that. So if your opponent is playing things like True Dracos and things like that, boom, you can just negate their effects and destroy those cards. Okay, so next off, of course, since we're playing Starlight Rose, we also play Stardust Dragon, but we can easily make this with a level 5 monster, such as a Cyber Angels or our Seraphonite, and then using the Ghost Ogre as a tuner. So Stardust Dragon, phenomenal card to have in this deck. And then last but not least, I wanted a more offensive card with a lot more bulk, so I chose to run Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend. Now, this card is really nice, and if you don't know what this card does, it says that once per turn you can destroy as many special summon effect monsters on the field as possible, whose attack is less than or equal to this card's other than this card, and then inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. So not only does this do a lot of burn damage, but this is also great for just nuking your opponent's field. And yeah, I really do love this card. 3,000 attack is nothing to laugh at either. You can run over most of the other boss monsters in this game. So yeah, that does it for the Synchros. Next off, we're going to go into the Fusions. Okay, so the Fusion lineup is actually pretty simple, but I really do love it because it puts a lot of synergy into this deck. We run one copy of Gem Knight Seraphonite, of course, for double normal summons and for a Brilliant Fusion target. And then we also run one copy of Invoked Raijin. This is our instant fusion target. I only run one instant fusion because you can easily search it if you need to with your Predaplant Darlingtonia Cobra. And Raijin, as I mentioned earlier, once per turn during either player's turn, you can target one face-up monster on the field, change it to face-down defense position. So basically like a Book of Moon, and it's really, really nice for putting a halt to your opponent's like XYZ or Synchro plays, or just stopping like a battle phase assault. Okay, and last but not least, of course, because it's a Melodious deck, quote-unquote, we play two copies of Shiberta, the Melodious Maestra. And during either player's turn, you can just target up to 3 cards in either player's graveyard, banish them, so really nice disruption against a lot of the meta decks right now. And she's also a level 6 monster, so you can always tribute her with a Ritual Summon pretty easily if you already used her effect and you don't really need her anymore. But yeah, that does it for the extra deck, and that does it for this deck profile. So, thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, please leave a like, subscribe for more Melodious content, and leave a comment down below letting me know what I can do to improve. And until next time, take care.